Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered if the person staring back at you is really who you want to be? Deep down, you know there is more inside you, a version of yourself that feels stronger, braver, and more alive. Yet too often, we stay trapped in the patterns of who we used to be. We cling to old labels, past mistakes, and limiting beliefs as if they define our future. But they don't. What if today could be the day you decide to let go of that old skin and begin the process of reinventing yourself completely? Reinvention is not just about changing what the world sees. It's about reclaiming the truth of who you are and aligning your actions with the life you were meant to live. Every human being has within them the power to start over, no matter their age, background, or circumstances. But here's the secret. It begins with a decision to no longer settle for a version of yourself that feels unfinished, tired, or disconnected. A decision to rise above the story you've been told about who you are and step boldly into the story you choose to create. Think about this. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, every individual who transformed their life started from the same place you are now. They stood at a crossroad, with fear on one side and possibility on the other. The difference was that they chose possibility. They understood that fear only grows when you feed it, but courage grows the moment you act in spite of it. Reinvention is not about being fearless. It's about moving forward while fear whispers in your ear, refusing to let it decide your path. So ask yourself, how much longer are you willing to live as a smaller version of yourself? How much longer will you postpone the life that excites your spirit? Because the truth is, you don't have to wait for the perfect timing, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect plan. The perfect moment is now, because now is the only place where change happens. Every great transformation in history has started with a single step, often taken in the middle of uncertainty, doubt, and discomfort. That's why reinvention feels so hard at first, because you're shedding old layers that no longer fit you, and that process is rarely comfortable. But it is always worth it. And here is the reward waiting for you if you dare to commit. Freedom. Freedom from the weight of past regrets. Freedom from the opinions of others that once dictated your choices. Freedom to wake up every day knowing you are building the life you truly desire, instead of living the one handed to you by chance or circumstance. Imagine walking into the future lighter, stronger, and more certain of who you are. Imagine how it will feel to no longer be chained to the identity that once held you back. That is the gift of reinvention. Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you will have the tools, the clarity, and the fire to begin your own transformation. You will see that the power to reinvent yourself has been within you all along. All you need to do is claim it, step forward, and never look back. The reason most people never fully reinvent themselves is not because they lack the ability. It's because they underestimate the power of identity. Your mind will always try to return you to what feels familiar, even if that familiarity is painful or unfulfilling. The human brain is wired for survival, not transformation, and survival clings to the known. That's why change feels so heavy at first. But here is the truth. The identity you carry today is not permanent. It is a set of beliefs, habits, and patterns that you have repeated so many times they became your reality. And if you created it, you can also recreate it. Think of identity like a script you've been reading from for years. The words may not even be yours. They might belong to your parents, your teachers, your culture, or the voice of your past failures. You recite the lines because they feel safe, but deep down you know they don't fit anymore. Reinvention is the act of putting down that old script and writing your own lines with courage and intention. It is the moment you stop waiting for permission and decide to give yourself authority over your life. The first step in this process is self-awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to face. Too many people avoid looking closely at their patterns because it feels uncomfortable to admit where they've been holding themselves back. But the discomfort of honesty is the birthplace of transformation. When you shine a light on the areas where you've been settling, you reclaim the power to choose differently. What once lived in the shadows no longer has control over you. Self-awareness is not about judgment, it is about truth. And truth, no matter how raw, always liberates. Once you see the truth, the next challenge is letting go of attachment. Your old identity may not serve you anymore, but it feels familiar, and familiarity can masquerade as safety. You may even feel a sense of grief when you let go of parts of yourself that once defined you. But understand this. Letting go is not losing. It is clearing space for growth. It is opening your hands so something greater can be placed in them. Reinvention requires that you release what no longer aligns with the life you're creating. That could be a limiting belief, a destructive habit, or even an environment that keeps you stuck. Release is the gateway to renewal. And here is where many people struggle. They think they must know exactly who they will become before they take the first step. But reinvention is not about predicting the future. It is about creating it moment by moment. You don't need the entire map to begin walking. You only need the courage to take one step in a new direction, and then another, and another. Momentum builds as you move. Confidence is not born from waiting until you feel ready. It is born from acting while you are uncertain, and proving to yourself that you can. Imagine the version of you who has already done this. Imagine the strength in their voice, the clarity in their decisions, the energy in their presence. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is a reality waiting for you to claim it. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you are aligning with that future self, and each choice compounds, building a life that reflects your truest potential. This is how reinvention begins, by breaking free from the prison of old identity and stepping into the limitless possibility of who you can become. Every transformation begins with a decision, but decisions lose their power if they are not followed by action. Reinvention is not an idea you admire from a distance. It is a life you practice every single day. This is where many people get stuck. They wait for motivation to strike, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. What sustains change is discipline, the quiet commitment to show up even when your feelings resist. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. When you take consistent action, no matter how small, you train your brain to accept a new reality. The unfamiliar becomes familiar, and what once felt impossible becomes part of who you are. The science of habit change shows that repetition carves pathways in the brain. Every time you choose the new action over the old, you strengthen that pathway. At first, it feels like swimming upstream. The current of old behaviors pulls at you, whispering for you to give in. But persistence weakens that current. With time, the new behavior becomes the natural flow. This is why reinvention is not a single breakthrough moment. It is the compounding effect of daily choices that align with the person you are becoming. When you commit to action, you send yourself a powerful message. I can trust me. That trust is the foundation of self-respect. So many people struggle with self-doubt not because they are incapable, but because they have broken too many promises to themselves. They said they would change, but never followed through. Every time that happens, the mind records it as evidence of weakness. But the opposite is also true. Each time you follow through, no matter how small the step, you build evidence of strength. You prove to yourself that your word matters. That proof is what creates unshakable confidence. It's important to understand that reinvention doesn't demand perfection. You will stumble. You will face setbacks. There will be days when you slip back into old patterns. But those moments do not define you. What defines you is how quickly you rise after falling. Failure is not the opposite of reinvention. It is part of it. Every stumble is feedback. Every misstep is a lesson. The only way to truly fail is to stop moving forward. If you keep standing back up, you cannot lose. Think about the kind of life that opens up when you adopt this mindset. Imagine waking up each day knowing that your progress is not determined by yesterday's mistakes but by today's decisions. Imagine realizing that nothing is wasted, because even your struggles are shaping you into someone stronger. That shift in perspective is life-changing. It removes the weight of regret and replaces it with the fuel of resilience. This is why the journey of reinvention is not just about changing external circumstances. It is about rewriting the internal dialogue that has held you back for years. When you learn to act consistently, to keep promises to yourself, and to rise after setbacks, you are not just building habits, you are building a new identity. And that identity begins to carry you forward with its own momentum. The version of you that once doubted now believes. The version of you that once hesitated now acts with certainty. This is how small daily actions transform into unstoppable personal power. Reinvention thrives when your environment aligns with your vision. No matter how strong your willpower is, if you surround yourself with people, habits, and spaces that reflect your old identity, you will feel pulled backward. The mind is influenced by what it sees and hears most often. If you want to rise into a new version of yourself, you must be intentional about what you allow to shape you. This doesn't mean cutting everyone out or living in isolation. It means consciously choosing influences that feed your growth instead of draining it. Think about the energy around you. Some people fuel your fire, others dim it. Some environments lift you up, others hold you down. Reinvention requires courage to let go of what no longer serves your future. That could be negative voices, toxic relationships, or even daily routines that keep you stuck in the same patterns. The more you protect your environment, the easier it becomes to stay aligned with your goals. Change feels impossible when you are fighting against constant resistance. But when you build an environment that supports your growth, change becomes natural. Psychology calls this concept behavioral architecture. Your surroundings either make the right actions easier or harder. If you want to transform your life, make the path of growth the path of least resistance. Remove the triggers that lead you back to old habits, and fill your space with reminders of who you are becoming. When your environment whispers the same message as your vision, it is no longer just you pushing forward. It is everything around you pulling you upward. Equally important is the circle of people you choose. Humans are wired to mirror those around them. If you spend time with people who settle for less, you will feel the pull to settle too. If you spend time with people who demand more of themselves, you will naturally rise to meet that standard. This is not about comparison, it is about alignment. Surround yourself with individuals who reflect the values you aspire to embody. Let their energy challenge you, stretch you, and remind you that mediocrity is not your destiny. But understand this, not everyone will support your reinvention. Some will feel threatened by your growth because it forces them to confront their own stagnation. They may criticize, doubt, or try to pull you back into your old identity. This is where your resolve must be strongest. Their resistance is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their fear. Do not let their limitations become your cage. Instead, let their doubt fuel your determination. Nothing is more powerful than someone who refuses to shrink to make others comfortable. Protecting your environment is not about arrogance. It is about survival. The old you is always waiting for a chance to return, and every influence you allow into your life either strengthens that old identity or builds the new one. If you want to rise, be ruthless about what you permit to remain in your space. Fill your world with people, habits, and environments that pull you higher. Because when your surroundings align with your vision, reinvention no longer feels like a battle. It feels like destiny unfolding, one aligned choice at a time. Reinvention is fueled by vision, and vision is more than a vague dream. It is a clear, burning picture of the life you are determined to create. Without vision, you drift. With vision, you rise with purpose. The mind needs something to move toward, something powerful enough to pull you beyond the limits of comfort and fear. When you craft a vision that excites you, you awaken a force inside that refuses to settle for less. That force becomes your compass, guiding your choices, your energy, and your focus. Too often people shrink their vision to match their current circumstances. They look at their resources, their past experiences, or their current struggles, and they adjust their dreams downward to fit what feels realistic. But reinvention requires the opposite. It demands that you expand your vision beyond what feels safe or possible right now. Because the truth is, your future is not built from your current limitations. It is built from the courage to imagine more. When you allow yourself to picture the life that truly lights you up, you activate creativity, resilience, and determination that otherwise remain dormant. The brain does not distinguish clearly between what is vividly imagined and what is experienced in reality. Neuroscience shows that when you visualize your future with intensity and detail, your mind begins to wire itself for that reality. You prime your thoughts, emotions, and actions to align with the picture you hold. This is why vision is not just daydreaming, it is rewiring. Each time you focus on your desired future, you are programming your subconscious to seek opportunities, notice possibilities, and generate actions that bring it closer. But vision alone is not enough. It must be anchored in emotion. Logic will not move you when the journey becomes difficult. Emotions will. You must connect deeply to why your reinvention matters. Ask yourself what is at stake if you don't change. Picture the cost of staying the same. Feel the weight of regret, the heaviness of missed potential, the emptiness of settling. Then shift and picture the opposite. The joy of living fully, the pride of becoming who you were meant to be, the peace of knowing you didn't waste your chance. When your vision is tied to emotion, it stops being optional. It becomes non-negotiable. Clarity is power. The clearer your vision, the stronger your drive. Vague goals create vague actions, but a sharp vision creates sharp movement. Define what you want, not just in external terms, but in how it will feel. Who do you become in this vision? How do you carry yourself? What energy do you bring into every room? The clearer you can answer these questions, the faster your reinvention accelerates, because your actions naturally begin to align with the image you hold of yourself. And remember this, your vision does not have to make sense to anyone else. It was not given to them, it was given to you. Others may not see what you see, and that's okay. Greatness is rarely understood at the beginning. What matters is that you see it, you believe it, and you commit to it with every fiber of your being. Because when vision burns bright enough, no obstacle can extinguish it. It becomes the light that carries you through the darkest nights, and the fire that drives you into the life you were always meant to live. A vision without action remains a dream, but action without belief collapses under pressure. Belief is the invisible force that fuels reinvention. It is the conviction that even when the path feels uncertain, you are capable of walking it. Most people wait until they feel confident before they act, but confidence does not precede action. It is born from it. Belief grows when you decide to trust yourself enough to take the step, even when fear and doubt scream louder than hope. The truth is, your beliefs shape every part of your reality. If you believe you are limited, you will act in limited ways. If you believe you are powerful, your actions will carry that power. This is not wishful thinking, it is psychology. The brain looks for evidence to confirm what you believe, a process known as confirmation bias. If you believe change is possible, your mind scans the world for proof. If you believe you are stuck, your mind will find evidence of that too. Reinvention begins by disrupting old beliefs and replacing them with ones that align with your vision. Ask yourself, what beliefs have kept you small? Perhaps you've told yourself you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, or not ready. These are not truths. They are stories. Stories repeated so often that they feel real. But every story can be rewritten, and when you rewrite the story you tell yourself, you rewrite the future you live. Belief is a choice, not a gift. You don't wait for it to arrive. You build it through repetition, affirmations, and aligned action that proves to your subconscious that you are more than you imagined. This is where courage becomes essential. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act in spite of fear. Each time you move forward while fear whispers in your ear, you are teaching yourself a new belief, that you are stronger than fear. Fear shrinks when you face it. Belief expands when you challenge it. Every small victory becomes a brick in the foundation of unshakable confidence. And the more you stack those bricks, the harder it becomes for doubt to tear them down. But belief is not only about what you think of yourself, it is also about what you believe is possible for your life. Too many people settle because they have accepted the false belief that their circumstances define their limits. But history is full of people who started with nothing and built everything. They didn't succeed because they had perfect conditions. They succeeded because they believed in possibility, and possibility is what fuels persistence. When you believe something greater is available, you keep moving until you find it. Imagine what becomes possible when you refuse to let old beliefs dictate your future. Imagine living as someone who sees challenges not as barriers but as opportunities to grow. Imagine holding a vision so strong and a belief so unshakable that no rejection, no setback, no criticism can stop you. That is the power of belief. It transforms the impossible into inevitable. It makes reinvention not just a dream you chase, but a reality you embody. And when belief takes root, nothing in the world can keep you from becoming who you were destined to be. Belief unlocks potential, but clarity of focus turns that potential into unstoppable momentum. Energy scattered in too many directions loses its power, but energy concentrated on a single path becomes a force that cuts through resistance. Reinvention demands that you stop trying to be everything to everyone and start channeling your time, effort, and attention toward what truly matters. The human mind has incredible capacity, but it thrives on direction. Without focus, even the strongest vision fades into distraction. With focus, even the biggest obstacles bow to persistence. The challenge is that the world is designed to steal your attention. Notifications, noise, endless comparisons, and constant demands pull you in 1,000 directions until you forget what you set out to build. Every distraction comes at a cost. Every time you allow your focus to be hijacked, you delay your reinvention. That is why clarity must become your armor. You must guard your attention as fiercely as you guard your dreams, because attention is the currency of transformation. Where it flows, your life grows. Clarity is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters most. Too many people confuse busyness with progress. They fill their days with activity but never move closer to the life they desire. Reinvention requires the opposite, cutting away the noise, stripping back the unnecessary, and aligning every action with your vision. Each day, ask yourself, does this move me closer to who I want to become, or does it keep me chained to who I was? The more honest you are with that question, the faster your transformation accelerates. The psychology of focus is simple. The brain strengthens whatever it repeatedly directs energy toward. If you dwell on limitations, you expand them. If you focus on opportunities, you expand those instead. What you feed grows, and this is why clarity is non-negotiable. You cannot afford to water the weeds of distraction while hoping the seeds of your future will bloom. Focus deliberately, and you will notice how your life begins to reorganize itself around your priorities. Discipline and clarity walk hand in hand. Discipline keeps you moving when motivation fades, but clarity ensures that movement is in the right direction. Without clarity, discipline becomes exhausting because you're working hard without feeling closer to fulfillment. But when clarity sharpens your aim, discipline feels purposeful. Every sacrifice, every effort, every moment of persistence feels worthwhile because you can see where it's leading. And here lies the truth. Clarity is a choice, not a gift. You choose to silence the noise. You choose to define your priorities. You choose to focus your energy on the few things that will move your life forward instead of scattering it on distractions that keep you small. Reinvention is not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things with absolute conviction. Imagine what your life will feel like when every action is aligned, when your energy is no longer wasted, and when your focus is as sharp as your vision. That level of clarity gives you a sense of power that cannot be shaken. It simplifies decisions, strengthens resolve, and keeps your eyes locked on the future you are building. With clarity of focus, reinvention is no longer a possibility. It becomes a certainty, unfolding step by step until the life you once only imagined becomes the life you now live. Clarity gives you direction, but resilience ensures you keep walking when the path becomes steep. Reinvention will test you. It will confront you with obstacles, delays, and disappointments that tempt you to return to the comfort of the familiar. This is the moment where many give up, not because they lack desire, but because they confuse difficulty with defeat. Resilience is the strength to rise in the face of difficulty, to endure the storms without losing sight of the horizon. It is the decision to keep moving even when progress feels invisible. Psychology proves that resilience is not an inborn trait. It is a skill, one that grows every time you refuse to surrender to hardship. Each challenge you face is an opportunity to train your resilience. The brain adapts under pressure, and what once felt unbearable becomes manageable the more you face it. Stress, struggle, and resistance can either break you or build you. The difference lies in your perspective. If you view struggle as proof you cannot win, you collapse. If you view it as training for the person you are becoming, you grow stronger with each battle. Resilience does not mean you never feel pain. It means you refuse to let pain define the end of your story. Fear, rejection, and failure are not signals to stop. They are signals to push deeper, to refine your approach, to rise higher. Every setback carries within it the seed of wisdom, and wisdom is the fuel of reinvention. When you learn to ask, what is this teaching me, instead of why is this happening to me, you shift from victim to creator. That shift is the essence of resilience. The truth is, life will not always make reinvention easy. People will doubt you. Circumstances will challenge you. Your own mind will whisper reasons to quit. Resilience is built in those moments when you answer back with persistence, when you prove to yourself that your will is stronger than your fear. Each time you rise again, you teach your spirit that nothing outside of you has the power to end your journey. That belief makes you unstoppable. And here lies the reward. Resilience transforms pressure into power. The very weight that once threatened to break you becomes the resistance that strengthens your character. Like a muscle that grows by being pushed beyond comfort, your spirit grows stronger each time you endure. Soon the storms that once shook you no longer move you. The challenges that once terrified you no longer control you. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Imagine carrying that level of strength into your reinvention. Imagine knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you have the resilience to endure and the will to rise. That kind of power changes everything. It frees you from fear, because you no longer measure success by the absence of struggle, but by your ability to keep going in the middle of it. With resilience in your heart, setbacks are no longer endings. They are the fuel that carries you further. And when you live with that kind of strength, reinvention is no longer a question of if. It becomes a question of when. Resilience gives you the strength to endure, But identity is what makes your transformation permanent. Every lasting change must move beyond what you do and root itself in who you believe you are. Habits can be forced for a while, but identity shapes them effortlessly. When you see yourself as someone disciplined, you no longer fight to stay consistent. You act in alignment with who you are. When you see yourself as someone strong, you no longer question if you can handle obstacles. You rise to meet them. Reinvention is not only about changing behaviors, it is about embodying a new identity that naturally sustains those behaviors. The mind clings tightly to the old self because it feels safe. You have rehearsed that identity for years, and the brain confuses familiarity with truth. But truth is flexible. Who you were yesterday does not define who you must be tomorrow. Neuroscience proves that the brain is constantly rewiring itself. Each new thought, each new action, lays down fresh pathways. That means identity is not fixed. It is created in real time through repetition and belief. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. The more votes you cast, the more that identity solidifies until it becomes your natural state. This is why temporary effort is never enough. If you want reinvention to last, you must shift the way you see yourself. You cannot simply try to act like a healthier, stronger, or more confident person, while still secretly believing you are weak, broken, or incapable. Your subconscious will sabotage you every time. But when you begin to affirm, to embody, and to prove through action that you are already becoming this new version, your subconscious adapts. It stops fighting you and begins supporting you. That shift is where transformation accelerates. Identity is strengthened by language. The words you use about yourself are powerful. Every time you say, "I'm not good at this," or "I always fail," you are cementing an identity that holds you back. Every time you say, "I am learning," or "I am becoming stronger," you are reshaping that identity into something that pulls you forward. Speak the language of your future self, not the language of your past. Over time, your actions will align with those words, and those words will harden into truth. Identity is also shaped by standards. What you tolerate becomes who you are. If you accept mediocrity, you become someone who lives small. If you raise your standards, you become someone who refuses to settle. Reinvention requires the courage to demand more from yourself, not in a way that breeds shame, but in a way that elevates your life to match your vision. Decide what behaviors, thoughts, and habits no longer belong in your life. Decide what new standards must define you. The moment you make that decision, you are no longer trying to change. You are changing. Imagine living each day no longer battling between who you were and who you want to be. Imagine reaching the point where your new actions feel natural because they reflect the identity you now claim. That is the freedom of reinvention, not forcing yourself into a life that feels unnatural, but becoming the kind of person for whom that life is inevitable. When your identity shifts, transformation stops being something you fight for. It becomes who you are, and who you are cannot be taken away. Action is the bridge between identity and reality. You can see yourself as powerful, disciplined, and capable, but until that vision is tested in the real world, it remains an idea, not a transformation. Reinvention is not abstract. It lives in the steps you take, the decisions you make, and the persistence you show when no one is watching. Each deliberate action compounds. Small steps, taken consistently, create momentum that eventually feels unstoppable. Action is where belief meets evidence, where potential becomes tangible, and where your future self begins to emerge in the present. The psychology of behavior shows that starting is always the hardest part. Resistance, fear, and self-doubt flood the mind when you attempt something new. Your brain wants comfort. It warns you against the unfamiliar because it interprets risk as danger. But every expert, every high achiever, has learned to act despite discomfort. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of it. Every time you take a step forward, even a small one, you rewire your brain to respond to fear with movement instead of retreat. Action creates its own momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Consistency is the engine of transformation. A single day of effort cannot reshape a life. Action must be repeated, strengthened, and refined. Repetition builds skill, and skill builds belief. When you commit to action every day, you begin to see yourself not as someone trying to change, but as someone who is already changing. Your habits align with your identity, and your identity aligns with your vision. This alignment turns struggle into progress, and effort into results. Nothing is more motivating than witnessing yourself grow because of the actions you refuse to skip, the decisions you refuse to avoid, and the persistence you refuse to abandon. Action also demands accountability. The most powerful form of action is deliberate, measured, and visible, even if only to yourself. When you track progress, you turn abstract dreams into concrete evidence. You create feedback that fuels further action. Your mind begins to trust your ability to execute, and trust is the foundation of lasting change. Each completed task, each goal achieved, is proof that you are capable. This proof strengthens your belief, making your reinvention less a hope and more a reality. Courage, consistency, and accountability converge in deliberate action. This is where transformation accelerates. Waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for motivation, or waiting for conditions to align is the trap that keeps people stuck. Reinvention favors those who act, not those who plan endlessly. Even imperfect action teaches more than perfect inaction ever will. Every step forward, no matter how small, carries you closer to the person you want to become. Visualize your life built from intentional action. Each decision you make, each habit you reinforce, and each day you refuse to quit, constructs the foundation of your new reality. Action turns possibility into proof. It transforms the energy of desire into tangible results. When your efforts are consistent and aligned with your identity, you no longer need motivation to propel you. Momentum does it for you. The life you dream of is not waiting somewhere in the future. It is being forged right now. In every deliberate step you take, in every choice you refuse to compromise, and in every action that proves you are fully committed to your own transformation. Your environment is not just a backdrop. It is a powerful force that shapes who you become. Every person you spend time with, every space you inhabit, every source of information you consume silently informs your beliefs, your habits, and your possibilities. If your surroundings are filled with doubt, distraction, or negativity, even your strongest intentions will struggle to gain traction. The mind is highly influenced by cues in the environment, and the brain is wired to mirror patterns it observes regularly. Transformation demands that you curate your environment to reinforce the person you are becoming, not the person you are leaving behind. Start by evaluating the energy around you. Who do you allow to influence your thoughts and emotions? Relationships carry subtle power. Some lift you, some drain you. Those who encourage mediocrity, who gossip, who criticize, or who constantly express fear and limitation, act like anchors. Every conversation with them subtly tells your mind that change is impossible, that your dreams are unrealistic, that your effort is futile. Surround yourself instead with individuals who embody the traits you want to develop, who challenge you to rise, who celebrate growth rather than settle for comfort. Influence is contagious, and proximity to growth accelerates your own. Spaces are equally critical. A cluttered, chaotic, or uninspiring environment fosters mental noise, indecision, and procrastination. Your mind reacts to your surroundings, and if your environment communicates disorder, it silently trains your brain to accept distraction and stagnation. Transformation thrives in spaces that reflect clarity, purpose, and order. Simple adjustments, organizing your surroundings, creating areas dedicated to focus, and filling your space with reminders of your goals, signal to your brain that you are serious about change. These signals are small, but their impact compounds over time. Media and information are unseen architects of your mindset. Every image, story, or headline you consume carries emotional weight and shapes expectations. Passive consumption of negativity, fear, or comparison reinforces the old identity, making transformation feel distant. Instead, immerse yourself in content that inspires, teaches, and elevates. Fill your mind with examples of resilience, creativity, courage, and wisdom. Let your thoughts be fed by visions of possibility rather than habits of doubt. The brain begins to internalize patterns from repeated exposure, and what you repeatedly see, hear, and think becomes the lens through which you interpret the world. Even your daily routines are part of your environment. How you structure your mornings, the order of your tasks, the rhythms of your day, all of these shape identity. Rituals are not trivial. They are scaffolding for your future self. When every day is deliberately designed to reflect your goals, your environment silently supports your transformation. The small, consistent choices become non-negotiable signals to your brain about who you are and what you value. The environment is not a passive backdrop. It is an active partner in reinvention. When intentionally crafted, it becomes a silent coach, a constant reminder, and an amplifier of your actions. When misaligned, it becomes a hidden obstacle, undermining your best efforts. Take control of your surroundings with the same seriousness you apply to your habits, your mindset, and your identity. Curate people, spaces, information, and routines that elevate you, that challenge you to rise, and that quietly, yet relentlessly, support the person you are becoming. In a transformed environment, change is no longer a struggle, it is inevitable. Your thoughts are not just fleeting ideas, they are the architects of your destiny. Every belief you hold, every assumption you make about yourself and the world, silently governs your choices, your habits, and the energy you bring to life. Reinvention begins with mastery over your mind, because without control of your internal dialogue, no external change can sustain itself. Thoughts shape emotions, emotions drive behavior, and behavior sculpts reality. To transform your life, you must first transform the lens through which you perceive it. Begin by examining the stories you tell yourself. Are they empowering or limiting? Do they amplify your potential, or do they reinforce fear and stagnation? The mind naturally seeks coherence. It confirms the beliefs you hold repeatedly. When you think, "I am not capable," your brain works tirelessly to make that belief true. When you think, "I am growing, learning, and evolving every day," your mind reorganizes itself to support that truth. This is not wishful thinking. It is the science of neuroplasticity. Your brain can form new pathways, build new habits, and strengthen new behaviors. But only when you deliberately feed it constructive, growth-oriented patterns of thought. Silence the mental noise that erodes your confidence. Every doubt, every "I can't," every replay of past failures chips away at your energy and focus. Become vigilant about the quality of your internal dialogue. Replace self-criticism with inquiry. What can I learn from this? How can I act differently now? Language shapes perception, and the words you consistently use in your mind set the boundaries of what you believe is possible. Choose words that empower, that stretch, that reflect the person you are determined to become. Visualization is a powerful tool for this mental transformation. When you vividly imagine your desired self, your mind begins to treat those images as possible realities. Picture not just the results you want, but the behaviors, the discipline, the resilience required to achieve them. Feel the confidence, the courage, the clarity, as though it is already true. The brain cannot distinguish between repeated mental rehearsal and actual experience. By training your mind to embody success before it happens, you prime yourself to act with the certainty and alignment of someone who already owns their transformation. Emotional self-regulation is equally essential. Thoughts create feelings, and feelings drive action. If you allow anger, frustration, or fear to dominate your mental landscape, your energy becomes scattered, and your actions lose precision. Learn to observe your emotions without judgment. Name them, feel them, and redirect them toward constructive action. Mastery over your mind is not about suppressing emotion. It is about channeling it into fuel for growth rather than obstacles to progress. Your mind is the battlefield where transformation is won or lost. Every hour you invest in awareness, reflection, and disciplined thought strengthens the architecture of your new identity. Control your thinking, and you control your life. Feed your mind with beliefs that expand possibilities, create vision, and drive relentless action, guarded against doubt, distraction, and negativity. When your thoughts align with your highest vision, every action, every choice, and every effort becomes sharper, more decisive, and more effective. The internal landscape you cultivate today becomes the reality you inhabit tomorrow. Your habits are the invisible architecture of your future. Every action you repeat, every small choice you make daily, compounds over time to create the person you become. Transformation is not an occasional effort, it is a pattern, a rhythm, a disciplined orchestration of your behavior that aligns with your highest vision. The mind can dream endlessly, but without aligned action, dreams remain fragile illusions. Mastery of habit is the bridge between who you are and who you are destined to be. Examine the routines that dominate your day. Are they deliberate or default? Most people drift through life on autopilot, repeating behaviors that serve comfort rather than growth. These unexamined patterns quietly dictate results, often holding you back from your true potential. To reinvent yourself, you must identify every habit that reinforces limitation, every action that chips away at energy, focus, and confidence, and replace it with behavior that accelerates growth. Small, consistent adjustments create an unstoppable momentum that compounds faster than any sporadic effort ever could. Start with the morning. The first moments of your day are not just rituals. They are signals to your mind about what matters most. Begin with practices that fortify clarity, discipline, and resilience, movement that strengthens the body, reflection that sharpens the mind, and intention that aligns with purpose. These early choices set a tone that reverberates through every hour, influencing decisions, emotional states, and productivity. When your mornings are aligned with transformation, your days become fertile ground for growth rather than battlegrounds of distraction and fatigue. Consistency is your ally. The brain craves repetition, and the nervous system solidifies habits through repeated action. One extraordinary effort does not define you. Hundreds of small, purposeful steps build a life of excellence. Choose to honor the process, to persist even when motivation wanes, to act despite fear or doubt. Habits do not require inspiration. They require commitment. Over time, repeated disciplined action rewires your identity, embedding the traits of resilience, courage, and mastery into the very core of who you are. Equally important is the elimination of habits that drain your energy. Every distraction, every indulgence that dulls focus, every behavior that reinforces fear or procrastination is a silent thief of potential. Awareness alone is not enough. Decisive action is required. Replace these habits with alternatives that energize, challenge, and elevate. Your brain adapts to repeated cues, so surround yourself with signals that reinforce discipline, vision, and action. Remember, habit is the sculptor, and you are both the artist and the clay. Every choice repeated without fail chisels the life you will inhabit tomorrow. Transformation is not a series of grand gestures. It is the accumulation of small, intelligent actions taken consistently, intentionally, and with unwavering alignment to your vision. The habits you cultivate today become the foundation of your tomorrow, and mastery over them is the single most effective leverage you have to reinvent every part of your life. Every moment you act with purpose strengthens the bridge from who you are now to the extraordinary version of yourself waiting to emerge. The environment around you is not neutral. It shapes you, molds you, and silently dictates the trajectory of your life. The people you surround yourself with, the spaces you occupy, the energy you allow into your mind, they all serve as mirrors reflecting who you are and who you can become. Reinvention demands that you take radical ownership of this landscape. Transformation cannot flourish in an environment that whispers doubt, encourages mediocrity, or drains your energy. If you wish to rise, you must curate your surroundings with intentionality. Every influence you accept is a seed planted in your mind. Toxic relationships, distractions, and negativity are not merely inconveniences. They are anchors that prevent growth. They erode confidence, cloud clarity, and deplete the will to act. Yet the reverse is equally true. Surround yourself with inspiration, with people who elevate, challenge, and believe in possibility, and you will find your own standards rising effortlessly. The human mind is exquisitely adaptive. It mirrors the attitudes, energies, and habits of those it interacts with regularly. Choose wisely who and what you let shape your thoughts. Physical spaces are equally powerful. Clutter, chaos, and disorganization are not harmless. They stress the nervous system, fragment attention, and reinforce stagnation. A deliberate, structured environment signals your mind that focus, discipline, and clarity matter. Every object, every layout, every sensory cue has the potential to either reinforce growth or embed limitation. Design your space to reflect the life you are building. Let every corner, every surface, every sound whisper that progress, purpose, and mastery are non-negotiable. Feed your senses with inspiration. The media you consume, the books you read, the podcasts you allow into your ears, these are the nutrients of your internal world. Passive intake shapes passive behavior. If your mind is saturated with fear, doubt, or negativity, your actions will mirror it. Choose content that stretches your thinking, ignites courage, and models excellence. Let every exposure be a step toward expanding your vision, elevating your standards, and reinforcing the identity of the person you are becoming. Energy is contagious. When you enter a room where vision, determination, and courage dominate, your body and mind instinctively align with that frequency. Conversely, environments steeped in complacency, resignation, and fear will erode your momentum if left unchecked. Protect your energy as fiercely as your time. Seek out spaces, people, and stimuli that fortify your confidence, sharpen your focus, and embolden your action. Transformation is not only internal, it is external. The life you are becoming requires a landscape that nurtures it. Every choice you make about who and what you expose yourself to either accelerates your evolution or anchors you in stagnation. Take deliberate steps to inhabit environments that reflect your potential, that amplify your courage, and that demand excellence. The external world is a reflection of your inner state. Mold it carefully, intentionally, and relentlessly. In doing so, you do more than survive. You create a life that constantly elevates you, challenges you, and compels you to step fully into the extraordinary version of yourself. The most powerful catalyst for reinvention is action. Yet too often we wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect alignment of circumstances. The truth is, perfection is an illusion. Growth begins when you step into discomfort, when you act before you feel ready, when you embrace uncertainty as the playground of possibility. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. Every time you hesitate, you allow the life you could be living to drift further out of reach. The path of transformation is paved by decisive, consistent action, no matter how small it may seem in the moment. Every choice you make sends ripples through your reality. The simple act of committing to your vision, even imperfectly, signals your mind that change is non-negotiable. Habits form in the spaces between intention and action. To wait until motivation strikes is to surrender your growth to chance. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline, once cultivated, is unshakable. The person you become is the product of the actions you take consistently, the decisions you refuse to postpone, and the courage you summon when fear rises. Momentum is built in the ordinary moments. Showing up each day, pushing past resistance and honoring your commitments, even when the world offers excuses, is how mastery is formed. Action is a language the universe understands. When you engage fully, when you move with purpose, the world begins to align with your vision. Doors open, opportunities appear, and your own belief in your potential solidifies. But inertia is seductive. Comfort is deceptive. Every day spent waiting is a day that your potential silently decays. Fear will always accompany change, because growth threatens the familiar. You may feel doubt, uncertainty, or discomfort. These sensations are not signals to retreat. They are evidence that you are stepping beyond old limitations. Pain and resistance are proof that transformation is underway. Lean into the discomfort. Let it fuel your courage rather than diminish it. Every step taken in the face of fear expands your capacity, reshapes your identity, and strengthens the foundation of the person you are becoming. Action is also a teacher. It reveals what works, what doesn't, and where your true strengths lie. Analysis and planning can only take you so far. Only movement uncovers your capacity. Experiment, iterate, and refine. Celebrate small victories as proof that progress is real, tangible, and achievable. Let each accomplishment, no matter how minor, remind you that the gap between who you are and who you want to become is bridged through consistent effort, not idle dreams. Transformation requires urgency. Life does not pause for preparation or perfect timing. The moment you decide to act, to commit fully to your reinvention, you seize control of your trajectory. Every day you hesitate is a day surrendered to stagnation. Every deliberate step, every disciplined choice, and every act of courage propels you closer to the extraordinary version of yourself. Action is the heartbeat of reinvention. Without it, potential remains unfulfilled, dreams remain abstract, and your true self remains hidden. Take the step, push past fear, move forward relentlessly, because the life you desire is waiting, but only for those brave enough to pursue it. Here's a detailed 14-section script outline for a faceless YouTube motivational video based on the title 113, How to Stop Being a People Pleaser. Each section is designed to be roughly equal in length and emotionally charged, using psychological triggers to inspire courage, self-respect, and transformation. 1. The hidden cost of people-pleasing. Open with a thought-provoking question. Have you ever said yes when every part of you screamed no? Explore the emotional, mental, and physical toll of constantly prioritizing others' approval over personal needs. Highlight how people-pleasing erodes identity, creates hidden resentment, and silently controls life. Provide a compelling reason to keep watching. Freedom, self-respect, and authenticity are within reach if one learns to break the cycle. 2. Understanding why you plead for approval. Examine the psychology behind people-pleasing. Discuss childhood conditioning, fear of rejection, and social approval triggers. Show how these patterns form habits in the subconscious mind, making it feel safer to prioritize others. Emphasize that awareness is the first step toward liberation. 3. The power of self-awareness. Guide viewers to recognize when they are bending to please others. Teach them to notice the physical sensations, emotional discomfort, and inner conflict that signal a people-pleasing response.